What's going on, guys? We have the craziest bonding I think we have ever seen in Marvel history. Carnage and Eddie Brock have become one. And in a sense, I feel this is exactly what we needed. Eddie is still trying to be the hero, while Carnage is still being Carnage. I'm talking crime fighting, murder, more murder, and amnesia? Welcome back to Keepin It Comic, and today, we're giving you Eddie Brock Carnage issue number 1. Now, before we dive in, let me give you a quick rundown. Eddie Brock, he was formerly the King in Black. He was the host of the Venom Symbiote, while Carnage evolved into a force so powerful that it no longer needed a host and was causing chaos. Everything changed during the Venom War, a battle for control over Venom and the future itself. This war involved Eddie, his son Dylan, and a future version of Eddie known as Meridius. Both Eddie and Carnage were fatally wounded, and their only shot of survival? Bonding with each other. If you're not caught up on the Venom War, don't worry. We've covered that series too. Be sure to check the links in the bio or at the end of the video. Now, we can already see it in Eddie's face. He's sitting on a plane with pills in front of him looking stressed. He's like, I have to kill someone on this plane. And Carnage? He's like, yes, Eddie, you do. What's taking so long? There are people all around you. Just choose one and get it done. What are you waiting for? Are you getting cold feet? Cold feet? Cold feet? I mean, this symbiote's making a song, torturing him. And he's like, I killed someone once by hanging them over a vat of liquid nitrogen and lowering them down an inch at a time. As pieces froze, they got heavy and they just fell off. Splash. Kill someone, Eddie. Kill someone right now. Are you listening to me, Eddie? Eddie's had enough. And I mean, this man's so much of a wreck, he knocks over his water onto the girl sitting next to him. He's like, oh God, I'm sorry. And she says, it's okay, it's just water. Are you all right? And he says, I'm not feeling very well. Don't worry, it's not contagious. And Carnage, of course, is like, that's right, Eddie. I don't know if I could survive with Carnage living in me. Carnage is like, I'm all yours. And Eddie tries to distract himself with a text message. And it reads, just checking in, Eddie. You okay? I don't like this. And Eddie responds, this was the only way to be sure. Hopscotch is on the plane, Bailey. I'll find him. Get the ID. Then you can tell the cops where to look. It's a good plan. And she responds, yes, but you're stuck on an airplane with a killer. And Carnage goes, you certainly are. Now Bailey's like, not to mention all the other people aboard. What if something goes wrong? And Eddie says, nothing can go wrong. I can handle myself. And Bailey says, I know you can, but just don't be a hero, okay? And Eddie gloomily looks at the phone and says, not much of a danger of that. And now Eddie's ready to go. He says to Carnage, okay, let's find this guy. And Carnage replies, finally. Eddie gives us the details. White male, late 30s, early 40s, seasoned traveler, flying on business alone. That's the profile Bailey put together from the police reports. And Carnage says, don't take too long, Eddie. I'm getting anxious. And Carnage starts to search the plane. Eddie continues, the Hopscotch killer, named that because he leaves his victims across the country. And the way the bodies are marked, a distinctive grid carved into the flesh. No real pattern to the locations. Cops thought maybe a truck driver, but forensics showed some killings happened on the same day. Too far for each of them to be drivable. The next thought was multiple killers, but that didn't track out for him because that's incredibly rare. And by this time, Carnage has had it. He's like, oh, I don't know, Eddie. I've been working with a partner for years. In which Eddie responds, which is when I figured Hopscotch is doing his thing during layovers. And we can see Carnage is going into people's ears now. And Carnage says, yes, you're very clever. Cut to some very boring time spent in airports until you sniffed out the killer. Let's just find him. And Eddie says, agreed. Let's just take a look beneath the hood here. I can see their lives, their memories. And Carnage says, no thanks to me. It's like when I was the King in Black, all those moments at once. And Carnage says, it's nothing like that. And Eddie says, I can see everything they've ever been through. They've never killed anyone. None of these people are the Hopscotch killer. We've got it wrong. And Carnage says, you've got it wrong, Eddie, but you better get it right. And Eddie responds, you're sure the killer's on this plane? And Carnage says, yes, I can sense them. A death dealer. Someone who lives in the ashes of pain. a mirror. They're here. And Eddie puts his hands out like he's about to use superpowers. They better be. And the lady next to him, who I assume cannot see Carnage, is like, excuse me? What? And just then, you see the whole plane is being taken over by Carnage. It's none of these people. Not one of them is the killer. Are you lying to me, Carnage? And Carnage responds, why would I do that, Eddie? This is what I want. I'm telling you the truth. Your serial killer is here. And at that time, we can see the girl next to Eddie has been taken over by Carnage too. And Eddie says, but I've seen every mind on this plane. Every passenger, the flight attendants. Oh my God, it's the pilot. And Eddie books it to the cockpit. And you can see Carnage disconnecting from everybody on the plane. Eddie says locked. And Carnage responds, what is a locked door to me? And oh man, he just rips the door off, part transformed, and saying, that's a fair point. Eddie says, fantastic, which one? And Carnage responds, there's an easy way to solve this problem. Kill them both. Like, this man Carnage just gives no Fs. But then a woman points a gun at Eddie and says, I'm a federal air marshal. I am armed and authorized to use deadly force. Lie face down on the floor with your hands behind your head. You have 5 seconds to comply, or I will fire. And Eddie says, great. What are the damn odds? They only put marshals on 1 in every 100 flights. And Carnage says, then the odds are 1%. It is depressing that you are so stupid. Like, at least we know my man's Carnage is good with math. But keep in mind, he's still a psychopath because he says, but we can solve that problem too. The air marshal says, sir, please, you don't want to do this. This is your final warning. I'm sorry. And she shoots. And all of a sudden, Carnage is coming out, deflecting the bullet. And she's like, what the? And all of a sudden, Carnage throws the bullet on the ground and says, 1 problem solved, 2 to go. And as Eddie and Carnage are turning into Carnage, Eddie says, I know what you are. I know what you've done. It's over. And the pilot says, what in the name of everything holy? And the co-pilot, he goes, I am the only holy thing here, demon. You say it's over, but I'm not done yet. And he stabs the pilot right in the neck. And Carnage goes, beautiful. Just beautiful work. And the air marshal fires again at Carnage. Eddie says, lady, please. I'm a little busy here. And the co-pilot, he says, I will bring this purifying flame, the cleansing fire. The demon will die. All demons will die. And as he's cutting the electrical wires, he says, my holy work will be done. Down we will go, Red Devil. You will take me, but neither of us will go alone. And Eddie thinks to himself, does he mean? And Carnage is like, oh yes, Eddie, I think he does. Eddie goes, this bastard just killed everyone on the plane. And of course, Carnage is like, I like this one. And oh man, Eddie's like, oh, this feels, and the way he is killing this guy, shredding him, is incredible. And he goes, it feels so good. And you can see the dialogue as Carnage and Eddie saying it, which is a little bit scary. Carnage says, Eddie, the plane, it's going down. This is amazing. I almost wish you hadn't killed the hopscotch. He did incredible work. Eddie says, shut up. This wasn't the deal. And Carnage kicks open the door and says, yes, time to go. And Eddie reminds him, not yet. This wasn't the deal. And to see Eddie flying off as Carnage with wings is crazy. Carnage is like, Eddie, what are you doing, Eddie? Why did you do something so stupid? You can't use my powers like this. This isn't what I do. This isn't the deal, Eddie Brock. This wasn't the deal. You sanctimonious monster. How dare you sully me, my legacy, by doing something like this? You don't deserve me, Eddie Brock. I'll kill you. I'll kill you dead. I think that's what kill you means, Carnage, but I mean, we know this guy's psycho. He goes, you'll never see your son. You'll rot. Eddie, 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 Eddie. Do you remember how good it felt when you killed Hopscotch? Imagine how good it would feel to kill this many people. Your life's been so hard. You never get to feel so good. Do you want to? Just this once. We'll never do it again. We'll stick to the deals. And then Eddie wakes up in the bed, looking like he had a hangover. And then he realizes, he says, oh my God, no, 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 no. What did you do? Bailey calls. He answers, and she says, Eddie, Thank God you're alive. I've been calling. What happened? This is insane. And Eddie responds, the plane, Bailey. What happened to the plane and the passengers? And Bailey responds, I was hoping you can tell me, Eddie. The plane you was on crashed, but they only found 2 bodies. The bodies of the pilot and co-pilot. Was Hopscotch on the plane? What happened up there? Hopscotch was the pilot, co-pilot, I guess? And Eddie says, I have to go, Bailey. I'm sorry. Can't get into it right now. I'll call you soon. I promise. And he says, it's time to talk, face to face. And Carnage says, of course, Eddie. And no, they didn't put my man in the pimp suit, looking fresh as the Red Devil himself. And he says, I'm here for you, whatever you need. Eddie responds, what I need is for you to tell me what happened back there. What happened to the passengers on that plane? How did I get back to the hotel? I've got missing time, and the only explanation is you. Tell me what you did. And Carnage says, no. And Eddie's pissed. He says, I'm not screwing around, you evil thing. Tell me what you did. Tell me or... And Carnage says, or what? Or what, Eddie? Or what, Eddie? There's only one thing you can do to me, and we both know you won't do it. If you die, I die. But that's not happening. I can see into your mind, Eddie, your soul. You're not suicidal. Personally, I don't get it. You're broke, your kid refuses to see you, you're completely alone, but for some reason, you just keep plodding around. I'm all you've got. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. I've been diminished. Since all the business with Meridius, I'm not as independent as I once was. I need a host. You need a way to tell yourself you're a good person. We both get what we want. And Eddie says, you don't want just a host, Carnage. You want to kill people. And Carnage responds, so do you, pal. Don't kid a kidder. You want power too. You missed the other symbiote of yours, the simpleton, Venom. You weren't the king in black anymore, and you missed that too. In case you forgot, this whole thing we're doing was your idea. You wanted to bring me into you. You wanted to make the big sacrifice, carry me so no one else has to. Thought you can control me and get all my powers too. You want to go after serial killers? If that soothes Eddie Brock's little baby conscience, fine, be my guest. I bet we'll meet some truly interesting people. And Eddie says, yes, but not innocence. That wasn't the deal. What did you do with the passengers? How did you blank out my memory? And Carnage says, I'm not going to tell you, Eddie. In fact, you insult me by even asking. Do you really think things wouldn't get bloody? We are Carnage. Enough chit-chat. It's time to get this train moving. You need to find someone to kill, killer. But I want someone with powers this time. I'm evaluating these people as potential hosts after all. I want someone with juice. Otherwise, well, it's not fair of a fight, is it? And Eddie says, fine, whatever, who? Carnage responds, oh, I've got some ideas, but it's not really my choice out there in the real world. You're steering the ship. So my good friend Eddie, when it comes to our next little hunt, you tell me. And oh man, these choices are ridiculous. Silver Surfer, Bullseye, Galactus, Phoenix. Oh man, I could go down this whole list, but the one I'm more curious about is how in the world is Venom on this list? I know that's not a host. He must just want to fight him so he can kill him. But there you have it, folks. Oh man, this first issue is straight mayhem. I don't know how Eddie Brock is going to keep himself sane with Carnage going crazy. I mean, keep in mind who Carnage's old partners were. He doesn't do well with sanity. But we got some crazy shots of Carnage in this, and it was amazing. I'm starting to think that this might end up being the best Bond ever. Just imagine if Eddie and Carnage were able to work together. That would be straight mayhem. And if there's anything we learned from the whole Venom War, everyone gets a symbiote. He gets a symbiote, she gets a symbiote, you might lose a symbiote and get a different symbiote. But it is mayhem for sure. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment below. Don't forget to like this video to help with the YouTube algorithm. And make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. Join our Patreon. And follow us on social media as well. Links are in the description. And until next time, thanks for kicking it with Keepin' It Comic.